The Madeleine McCann case has provided perfect material for the rolling news stations, an emotive, unfolding hyper-narrative jam-packed with twists and turns and even celebrity endorsements, and it plays on people's darkest fears. From the off, the stations were all over it like a rash, dispatching reporters to the scene, but after over 100 days, they were running out of things to report. And then things changed. The parents were given a Guido suspect status, and the news went berserk, standing around for hours outside Portimao police station, so we'd see every second of the McCanns arriving or leaving, or both. Mostly, though, they showed us a closed door. On BBC News 24, the cameraman went crazy, and the anchorman forgot reporter Jane Hill's name.
Kate, if we can just go through a couple of things.
No, that's Jane. Kate's the Guido.
It's quite odd, Sally, to have so many people just standing around. Some of them really for hours on end just standing.
Yeah, that is odd.
And they just stand and watch and wait, and they take photographs, and some of them have got home video cameras.
And some have got satellite link-ups. Even pundits criticising press coverage of the case were ignored in the stampede to keep us all staring.
Jeremy, I just want to take our viewers over to Portugal. This is the live scene there. We think that we're just seeing some movement there. We think there's a possibility that Jerry McCann might be coming out.
This went on for 2 days. 2 days of repeated footage of a closed door.
Nothing has happened here for 7 hours, and yet still there are huge crowds.
Which you're a part of. Whenever the McCanns did emerge, they were peered out like specimens.
Jerry, what is your status? Jerry, what is your status?
If that wasn't bad enough, when the McCanns decided to fly home on the Sunday, the news was with them every step of the way. We could watch the McCanns leaving their villa, fighting past reporters, arriving at the airport. We heard from fellow passengers. What do you think? What do you think? We saw reporters outside the airport interviewing other reporters. In fact, if you were quick, you could amuse yourself by watching a van drive past Kay Burley, then change channels quick enough to see it pass behind Jane Hill on News 24. The McCanns were even followed onto the plane, and all the way home.
The road behind them was left clear, so they could be afforded a little bit of privacy. The road behind that is where our correspondent Ian Woods is seated with our cameraman Kevin.
So they are on the plane. They look, I have to say, relatively relaxed. They're both up, just taking care of the kids at the moment. We are just trying to ascertain from them as to whether or not they are going to be prepared to make any sort of a statement either during the course of the flight or when they get to East Midlands Airport.
A camera was trained on East Midlands Airport half of Sunday afternoon, just so we could see their plane land.
Yes, there was a degree of pleading there, I think, from Jerry, that to leave them alone as much as possible, to try and give them some sense of privacy and normality.
This was not news. This was just looking at stuff, and the only message it imparted was look, look, look. Keep looking at them. Look, look, look. How much has news reporting changed over the last 10 years?
Well, you can go live from almost anywhere at no notice. Cameras don't have to be wired up to a satellite truck so they can roam about more. You can point a laptop at the sky and do a video phone live from the top of a mountain in Afghanistan. Downside is the viewers aren't that impressed by the fact that you're live outside the High Court. It's no longer a big deal.
What are the prime sins for a reporter?
How many ways are there to say, I don't know? Well, a good way to find out is to watch a reporter going live from a breaking story. This story is still developing, or details are still patchy, or the full picture is only just emerging, or it's too early to know exactly, or there are conflicting reports, or police are saying little. Often you can tell the reporter's only just pitched up in a taxi and is being fed whatever he or she knows from the studio through an earpiece. This is the central paradox of a live report from the scene, that it's almost always the place where a reporter's least likely to find anything out. Often, a presenter knows before the reporter, and you have the bizarre scenario of someone who already knows something, asking someone who still doesn't, who then has to bluff their way out of it. Some presenters like to torture reporters by demonstrating they're better informed. That's a real trick.
Well, now it's time for all the latest from the world of sport. Actually, no, it's not. Sport isn't news, it's sport, and look at it, it's rubbish. Bollocks to sport and bollocks to everyone who likes it. Of course, the inherent problem with the news is that it's usually bloody boring. The storylines are slow and often depressing. It's sometimes difficult to understand, and the cast has all the vivacious sex appeal of a clammy-browed sales rep blowing off after a corned beef sandwich. All of which is box office poison. So what does the news do? Well, it pretends it isn't boring with all manner of unnecessary garnish. News graphics used to be handcrafted Blue Peter-style creations that made everything look a bit like the lowest budget war movie ever made.
Even further on, a growing Soviet Indian Ocean fleet already has facilities in Aden, the capital of Marxist South Yemen. And tonight, that fleet is being reinforced by another squadron from the Pacific port of Vladivostok.
Then in the 80s, computer graphics arrived and designers went to town with their new set of toys. Wow, it's incredible! Crazy! Cool! Bright! Edgy! Educational! Intense! Gosh! Christ! Wow! Jesus! Ace! Brill! Skill! Fab! Woo! Ah! Ee! Oh! Ooh! Today, news graphics have developed into a bombastic art form. Trouble is, they're so whizzy, they actively distract you from the information they're supposed to convey.
Our defence correspondent Jeff Mead has the story.
Looking at this, it's hard not to wonder if news has lost its way. News reporting is supposed to consist largely of the 6 W's. Who, what, where, when, why and how. How doesn't start with a W, but it ends with one, so it still counts. Essentially, if you answer all those questions, you've covered the full story and the viewer goes away informed. But today there's a 7th W, whoa, and whoa takes precedence over all the others. Whoa, look at those graphics. Whoa, listen to that dramatic music. Whoa, f***ing hell, live pictures.